Hey guys, some of you are struggling a little bit with stem changing verbs, which we nickname boot verbs. So I have another presentation that I'm going to do for you. I'm going to save it as a YouTube video, and hopefully we can go through this slowly enough that you will get a better idea and feel really like you're confident at conjugating stem changing verbs. So first of all, you will need a piece of paper and a pencil. So if you need to pause the video to get those out so you can actually go along and practice with me, that would be a great thing. So pause the video if you need to take out a piece of paper and a pencil. Okay, so let's look at this verb, pensar. Pensar means to think, so we're going to do some thinking about this, okay? The first thing I need to show you is that the stem is the first part of the verb. Okay, for the verb pensar, it's P-E-N-S. It's everything except the ending, which is A-R. Okay, and then what you see in the parentheses here is the stem change. Okay. So in this case, this verb pensar is going to have a stem change from E to IE. Okay, so the stem is P-E-N-S on this verb, and the stem change is going to be when we change the E, when we change the E to an IE. And you need to know when you're going to make that stem change. If it's a stem changing verb, it will always change four of the 5 forms. So let's look at this verb. The stem change happens in all the forms except the nosotros form. So let's look at this verb in a chart. Pensar. If your subject is yo, the stem, the E, is going to change to an IE for yo. So it will look like this. Pienso. If your subject is tú, the E is also going to change to an IE, so it will be piensas. Remember, it's an AR verb, so you're using AR and verb endings. Okay? If your subject is él, ella, or usted, then the E is going to change to an IE, and then the ending will change to an A, so you will get piensa. When you get to nosotros, if your subject is nosotros, there is no stem change. So it will look like this, pensamos. The E does not change to an IE, but you still have to change the ending of the verb, and since it's an AR verb and the subject is nosotros, it's going to be pensamos. If your subject is ellos, ellas, or ustedes, you will have a stem change, and so it will look like this. The E will change to IE, and the ending is the same that you've always used for ellos, ellas, and ustedes, piensan. Okay, so remember again that there's no stem change for the subject nosotros. And then if you draw a shape around the areas where on the chart where the stem change happens, you'll see it kind of makes the shape of a boot or a shoe. And so that's why people who are learning Spanish as a second language will call these boot verbs, because everything inside the boot has a stem change, but the nosotros, which is outside of the boot shape, does not have a stem change. Okay, let's look at this verb preferir. The stem change always happens to the next to the last vowel of the verb. If you look at the verb preferir, you see that there are 2 E's in this verb. You have the ending IR, and then you have the stem PREFER. Okay, so in order to decide which E is going to change to IE, you have to count back 2 vowels. So you start at the I, and you count back to the E. 1, 2, that's the next to the last vowel. That is the vowel that's going to change. So anytime you have a verb that's a stem changing verb, and it has more than 2 syllables, then you have to count back and do the next to the last vowel of the verb. Okay, so also remember that you have to conjugate the verb according to the ending. So remember the chart. If you were in the classroom, there would be a chart up to your left above the board that has all of these verb endings. So remember that you have to also conjugate the verb according to the ending. So remember, is it an AR verb, an ER verb, or an IR verb? The verb preferir is an IR verb. So you are going to use the endings that are in the IR verb section. Okay, so let's look at this. This one is an IR verb, so just don't forget, there's 2 things you have to pay attention to. You have to pay attention to the stem change and to whether it's an AR, ER, or IR verb. Okay, so let's look at the verb preferir. If we want to conjugate it to so that it agrees with the subject yo, which is I, remember 2 things. It's going to be the next to the last vowel, the E, that changes to an IE, and then you have to make sure that you change the ending, IR, to the correct ending for yo. So try to write that down on your piece of paper. If you need to pause the video, and then I'll show you the answer. So for the subject, yo, and the verb preferir, your conjugation should look like this. So you did the stem change to the next to the last E, and then you changed the ending to O because your subject is yo. Okay? Okay, let's try another one. Querer. It's also an E to an IE stem changing verb. And the subject is to in this case, and remember that this is an ER verb. So pause the video and write your answer down on your piece of paper. Okay, so the E, the next to the last E, is going to change to an IE for this one because it's not nosotros. Whenever your subject is nosotros, there's no stem change. But since this is not the subject nosotros, it's the subject to, it will have a stem change. So let's look at this one. It's going to be quieres. Your subject is to, so the ending is es. And it's a stem change from an E to an IE. So your verb is quieres. Okay. We have several more of these. Tener. Tener is also an E to an IE stem change, and we will always give you, if it's a stem changing verb, we will always give you in parentheses what kind of stem change is going to happen. So only do the stem changes to the verbs that we tell you are stem changing verbs. So tener is a stem changing verb, and in this case we want to use the subject ellos. Write your answer down. Your answer should look like this. Tienes. Oh, I'm sorry. Tienen, because your subject is ellos, right? It's an ER verb, so the ending is EN and the stem change is IE. Okay? Try another one. Poder. Poder is an O to UE stem changing verb. Okay, the next to the last vowel happens to be an O. So O's, if they're stem changers, always go to UE. Your subject is el. It's an ER verb, so you have to use ER verb endings. Pause the video and write your answer down. Your answer should look like this. Puede. Okay, your ending is E because the subject is él, and the stem change is UE because it's an O to UE stem changing verb. Here's another example. Almorzar, which you should know means to eat lunch, is also an O to a UE stem changing verb. In this case, I want you to use the subject ustedes. Remember that almorzar is an AR verb, so you have to use AR endings. So pause the video and write your answer down. Your answer should look like this. Almuerzan. Okay? So your ending is AN because the subject is ustedes, and your stem change is UE because the subject is ustedes, and you have to change the O to a UE. Almuerzan means you all eat lunch. Okay, probar is also an O to a UE stem changing verb. This time I want you to use the subject nosotros. Remember I told you that the subject nosotros is the only subject that's outside of the boot shape. So that means anything that is outside of the boot, nosotros specifically, does not have a stem change. However, it is an AR verb, and we want to conjugate the verb for the subject nosotros. So pause the video and write your answer down. Okay, here's your answer. It should look like this. Probamos. Okay? There's only 2 syllables here. Since this is a subject nosotros, there's no stem change. Okay? And it's an AR verb, so the ending for nosotros is amos. So it should be probamos. Let's try another one. Tener. Now this is tricky, but you've been using this verb since the very beginning of school when you talked about how old you are. It is an E to an IE stem changing verb, but it is also irregular. So for the subject yo, go ahead and write down your answer and then see if you've got the right one. Just think back to how you said, I have 12 years, or I have 13 years. Your answer should look like this. Tengo. Okay, it's just an irregular verb, so in this case, the E does not change to an IE. There's no stem change, and it's got this crazy thing going on about, it's called a go verb, so when it changes to the yo form, it ends with GO. Just have to memorize that, okay? Okay, a couple more. Pedir means to order, and it's an E to an I stem changing verb. Not E to IE, but E to I. So if my subject is ellos, I'm going to use IR verb endings, and my stem will change to an I. So, write your answer down, and then check. Pause if you need to. And now check your answer. It should look like this. Piden. The stem change is an E to an IE, okay? And since it's an IR verb and my subject is ellos, it should be then. Okay, I think I've got one more example. Servir means to serve, and it's a stem changing verb, E to I, but I want you to change it for nosotros. Keep in mind that nosotros is the only subject that's outside of the boot, and so there is no stem change. So pause the video and write down your answer, and then start the video up so